Hello everyone, welcome back to my daily news analysis channel. So today in this video we are going to discuss 5 important articles of today's which are very important for UPSC prelims as well as mains examination. These articles ranges from environment to economy to to science and tech. We are from these areas we are going to cover our articles, and we are going to conclude this by today's quote of the day and also word of the day as well. So let us begin. So our first news headline is India's first bio-happy district. So K Penerio district in Arunachal Pradesh is the India's first bio-happy district. Now you must be wondering, what does it mean to be a bio-happy district, right? This must be a very new term for you. And when I read this news, to be honest, it is also very new to me. So basically, what are biohappy district? With this term, biohappy district, this term was coined by M.S. Swaminathan, the man behind Green Revolution, right? He has defined the so the definition of biohappy district can be defined as well-being through conservation and sustainable use of biodiversity, enhancing health, nutrition, and livelihood. Here, what we are going to do in these areas, we are growing our crops which are basically native to that area, to that particular region, and also you know uh, we are going to conserve them and use them in a sustainable manner also. This is an example of a deep ecology, right? Because it is contributing in our environment. It is contributing in our environment. That's why, in a positive manner, right? The founder of biohappy district is MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, and its current chairperson is Soumya Swaminathan. So, the focus area of this biohappy district is that they are going to create livelihood of the local communities, and also we are going to conserve agro biodiversity conservation, ecological assessment within district administration, and also the local administration is also going to work in tandem with the with with these districts, right? So this move is a very particular move, whereas you're going to give districts there the as a happy status where the farmers, the native members, they will get livelihood opportunities from worldwide, from the region wide, for conserving, for creating, for producing their own crop. It integrates biodiversity conservation as well as rural livelihood. Also, it aligns with the self development goals 2, 3, 13, 14, which all of them, which basically talks about biodiversity conservation, livelihood opportunities, climate change. These are the things, and this move is going to uh, take care or cater all of these targets. Also, it will also helps in climate change also, because when you are producing a crop, when you're producing a native crop, you're basically it's a kind of a carbon sequestration, an act of forestation. Also, there will be reduction in methane, which has very immediate climate benefits as well. Moving towards our second article of the day. So our second article of the day basically about Supreme Court on air pollution. So on Tuesday, Supreme Court has said that has said that has given a very uh, said that on the Delhi's pollution, as we know that Delhi's AQI has reached last month it reached to 1500. Now it is 294. Current AQI Delhi is 294. Still it is very high. It comes in very serious category. So the Supreme Court has made a very good observation. Supreme Court has said that victims of the poor AQI are also the contributors of pollution in India. So Supreme Court is saying that the residents of Delhi, they are not only victims but also they are contributing in air pollution. How? See, pollution is a very it requires a comprehensive approach. It requires governmental intervention. Along with governmental intervention, it requires citizens support also. Here Supreme Court highlights that behavioral change among citizens, among residents of Delhi, is also very important in order to bring some distinguishable changes in air quality pollution. For example, burning firecrackers on festivals like on Diwali or during wedding, there is also the contrib- major factor of air pollution. Also, recently Supreme Court has said that New Year has come, and many educated people rather, they do the bonfire activity on their terrace. So see, the New Year is not a religious thing that you have to um, it's not a kind of festival. It is not necessary to do bonfire on New Year's. Knowing the fact that it will emit carbon dioxide and it will pollute our environment and it will deteriorate Delhi's AQI, still many people in Delhi, they fire the bonfire. So this is also the major contributing factors. So so behavioral change, public behavior matters along with government actions. Supreme Court has also said that there are some institutional um, loopholes also. It is like there is a lack of clarity on exact sources and percentage of contribution to pollutants. Still, it is not clear that from where, how much, which sector is contributing how much in pollution. It is not clear also. So this is the case. And also, regarding taking measures, so Supreme Court has also said that you cannot ban truck or construction, because yes, they may improve the air quality, they may improve the AQI level, but it will disrupt the essential supplies and economy, housing. It will disrupt them. We can have a lockdown option also, that we can impose lockdown in Delhi, but this will not fetch a good result, because because there will be economic contravention also, right? Economy will suffer from here. This is also the case. So that is why government approach is required, but along with public behavior matters, and public needs to you know take care. You need to actively participate in the mitigation of air pollution, because quality air, clean air, is a fundamental right. Yes, it is the responsibility of the state to provide us, but it is our fundamental duty also to help state in these actions. For example, we need to have some behavioral changes, like um uh, whenever we have to commute for a shorter distances, we can commute through public transports. We can go through by walking or through cycling also. We can go in that way. We should use more for public transportations. Also, on a smaller level, we should avoid, on a personal level, we should avoid constructions in our houses right now, so till that AQI will not improve. Now that is the need. Also, Supreme Court has highlighted that there is an implementation gap, and data driven policy is required, and shared responsibility also, to tackle this issue. Moving towards our third article of the day. So a private bill is has been passed in a private bill has been introduced. It has been introduced in parliament in the winter session about right to disconnect. It was introduced in parliament by MP Shashi Tharoor. Now, what is this right to disconnect? So right to disconnect is basically, it is a legal right of employees to not to respond or to work to not to respond to work related communication beyond working hours. That means beyond working hours. See, that you have the right to say no to your boss, that I will send emails tomorrow, not right now, when your working hours are over. We know that right now, with the introduction of technology, emails, WhatsApp, Instagram, X, our economy is always on. We are always on economy mode. Our work is being keeping, we are doing work lot of time, right? Beyond working hours also, beyond our official hours also, people are still working. They are still making presentation. They are still sending emails. They are still doing online meetings beyond working hours as well also. So that is why, and this long working hours, they have they introduces lot of mental health issues among our countries. It hampers our productivity also. That is why Shashi Tharoor has introduced this bill in parliament, that right to disconnect should be the fundamental right. I will give you a report. According to Indian Labour Organization, nearly 51% of Indian workers worked more than 49 hours per week, whereas experts suggest that 40 hours per week should be the optimal amount of work that a person must do on a weekly basis. But Indians are doing 49 hours per week, and more than that. It may, you know may affect the mental health, physical health, fatigue of the person, and it also hampers the productivity also. If we are working beyond 40 per hour, it is unsustainable. It affects our physical and mental health, and it makes us physically and emotionally exhaustible. According to National Mental Health Survey, nearly 10 to 12% of Indians are facing mental health burden. They are facing burnout, right? Stress, hypertension, diabetes, anxiety, and depression as well. And it also hampers the productivity. All these issues hampers the productivity of the person. And this system has made up a common norm that availability is equals to productivity. It means that if you are available, if you are online, it means that you are working and you are productive enough. But that's not true. So this bill aims to, bridge some legal gap. According to OSHWC code 2020, this act basically caps working hours for the workers, but not fully for the gig workers, freelancers, contractual employees. And most of the time, gig workers, these freelancers are victim of long working hours, because they don't have any fixed schedule. Whenever any order comes, they need to rush back. They are always in hurry to deliver their products. If they do not deliver their products on time, it will it will affect their ratings, and on the basis of their rating, you know their their salary got affected. As well as there is no fixed working hours for our gig workers. So they are also facing a lot of physical as well as mental and as well as social pressure as well, because gig workers, these freelancers, they they are 99.99%, they belongs to lower middle class family, who tries to support their families, right? And they have that expectations, they have that kind of expectations to support their family. And if their ratings get hampered due to their low productivity, it will hamper their salary, their family as well. So this right to disconnect will give us the power to all the employees to basically demand their rest, that demand from argue from their boss that you cannot give me work after the working hours are over. This is the thing. So this bill brings amendment in OSHWC Code 2020. It defines and enforce right to disconnect for all employees, and it also prohibits punishment for non-response after working hours, and it also integrate mental health support as a part of occupational safety. Globally, France has become the first country to make right to disconnect a fundamental right in their country in 2017. After that, many European countries like Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Australia as well, you know, um, has made this right to disconnect. So here we need to. So this bill basically tells you that availability is not equals to productivity, or productivity is not equals to availability. We need to make sure that our economy will work on a good basis if our employees get proper rest, right? Then only our and this bill basically gives the world the insight that for India, not only economic output is important, but as well as the mental well-being, the whole well-being of their citizens is also very very important. Moving towards our fourth news headline. So Chennai faces a chronic fresh water scarcity due to erratic monsoon over extraction of groundwater and urbanization. So the Chennai is facing that the water supply in Chennai has reduced to a critical threshold. Now, this scenario, when a region when a region's groundwater level falls below a certain critical threshold, this scenario is known as day zero scenario. Here, the water supply can be done only for the emergency purposes, not for the normal purposes. It normal water supply in this case hampers, and currently Chennai is facing day zero scenario. In the past, not only Chennai, Shimla also faced the same problem, and also the Cape Town, South Africa also faces the day scenario problem. So, what is the solution? So, Chennai government has come up with a solution that they are going to use treated waste water for their non-portable use. What does it mean to be a non-portable use? It means that other than drinking activities and bathing activities, like in industries, in construction, in commercial establishment where water is required, there the treated waste water being used for these activities, right? In Chennai supplies 1313 mld every day, of which only 83 mld is being treated, and rest is untapped potential. When we can use this untreated water, it will basically reduce the dependency of the of water on the groundwater supply. You see, you need water for each and everything, from bathing to drinking to to for industries also you need all these kinds of a water. And also the population is also increasing, as I discussed earlier also. The population of India is increasing, but the ground level resources, they are limited. That is why we are facing a demand supply mismatch, and a crisis is a crisis we are experiencing. We are experiencing energy crisis, we are experiencing water crisis. And in order to deal with these crises, in order to deal with this water crisis, we need to adopt the circular economy, the recycle, reuse, uh, uh, you know reduce kinds of approach also. Right, in order to make ourselves better treated. And also this treated water is more cheaper than this desalinated water, so it will give us a win-win situation. What is required? You know when you write an article, then only you cannot get a proper solution. You need proper institutional mechanism. Existing treating capacity is underutilized, and lot of governance, technology, as well as personals are required to make it. The one solution that is there, that we should that we can use universities and campuses as living labs, right? That there we can, there we can uh, treat the wastewater. The example is Simtes on campus. STP reduced freshwater use by 20% through reuse. Also, we need shared responsibility. Just like air pollution, water conservation is not only a government's responsibility but also citizens as well. Now, I would like to end this video by today's quote. Our today's quote is by Mahatma Gandhi ji. Mahatma Gandhi ji has given a very good principle about the seven sins of social life. Mahatma Gandhi has said that wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without character, commerce without morality, science without humanity, worship without sacrifice, and politics without principle. These are the seven sins of self life, of the social life, and we all are experiencing them. Like wealth without work, like we are seeing gig workers. Many companies, they are hiring gig workers to basically to generate revenue. They are not doing much things, but on their behalf, these small marginalized people, they are doing, they are tolling every day. They are doing a lot of hard work, but these people, but the big businessman, they are not doing as much as hard work, but they are generating revenues. This is the best example of wealth without work. It is also the example of a crony capitalism also. Like an example of pleasure without conscience, like crisis of conscience. Like we are, for example, in today's students life also, we are using social media, we use social media, we do scroll. So it means we are getting pleasure, but where is our consciousness, right? We are not doing hard work for that, and this creates a crisis of conscience in our country. Like knowledge without character, the best example is Pooja Khedkar example, where she uses duplicate or for fraud reservation papers in order to get a seat in the UPSC exam. Commerce without morality, again the gig workers, right? And also the more than 20% of food samples in India, they are not tested. If they are tested, they are they are, if they test, they are not of use, they are expired. So this is commerce without morality. Also there are science without humanity, like invasion of AI. According to according to IMF, this AI, it will decrease 14 to 15% of global jobs. So where will humanity go? It's our responsibility that every person who is not even educated, he has the right to work. But if his work will be taken over by AI, then what will they will do? Politics without principle. According to Association of Democratic Representation, 42% of MPs in Lok Sabha, they are criminal. So we are not doing politics without principle. You are seeing the global scenario as well as what is happening in our own country also. Like during elections, politicians gives a lot of your what they will give a lot of big promises, but at the time of implementation they do not do anything. Also, we have seen that during the in order to get votes to fill up their vote banks, to increase their voter area, they sometimes use communalism, regionalism. In our country they use these terms as a weapon. So this is so this these are the seven sense of social life. And if we, if we stay away from them, if we do work, if we generate wealth but through work, if we take pleasure but with consciousness, if we have character as well as knowledge, if we have morality as well as commerce, we have science as well as humanity, if we have worship without sacrifice, we are students, right? If you're worshipping any person, let's say if you worship Lord Shiv, goddesses Kali, but you're not sacrificing, then also it's a big sin in life. So we should stay away from these seven sins of life, and we should apply them in our life. Talking about importance of the day, so on 7th January 1610, Galileo Galilei, a famous astronomer and scientist, he discovers three moons of Jupiter, like Io, Europa, and Ganymede. This is the thing. Galileo was the first person who gives the concept of heliocentrism. What does this heliocentrism means? The sun is the center of universe or solar system, and all other planets, they are revolving around it. Before that, the main principle was that geocentrism. It means geocentrism states that earth is the center of the universe and all other are revolving around it. So this was a this was the principle that was given by Galileo. Talking about the word of the day. So our today's word of the day is sunk cost fallacy. So the sunk cost fallacy means an individual continue the same actions or investment because he or she has already done a lot of investment of time, money in the past of that project. That is sunk cost fallacy. The best example of sunk cost fallacy is our UPSC preparation. When we got failed in a UPSC, but we have that urge, let me give one more, let me give another attempt, let me give that another attempt, and still no result is going to come out. That is known as sunk cost fallacy that we are facing in these areas. So on that note, I'm leaving here. We will meet tomorrow with a new news, with a new word, with a new quotation. Till then, stay happy, stay safe.